Hello, my name is Nathan Peterson, and I am a specialist with OCD and anxiety. I wanted to go through something that I feel like is super important for individuals who have OCD to know, and that is, how do you know when you're actually doing exposures? So if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to my channel so you do not miss any future videos on OCD or anxiety. So this is something I actually hear quite often. Individuals will come into my office and they will say, "Hey Nate, I did an exposure this weekend." And I'll say, "Cool, what'd you do?" And they'll say, "Yeah, I went to a movie theater and I watched the movie. And I was really scared of movie theaters because I was worried that there's going to be a shooter that comes in. And I was also worried about the contamination around me. And I also was worried about interrupting other people while they're watching the movie." And I said, "Okay, cool. So how'd you do it? What'd you do for the exposure?" And they're like, "What do you mean? I went to the movie." And I'm like, "Well, that's not really an exposure. So what'd you do for the exposure though? So you went to the movie, that's really great. What'd you do?" "Well, I sat there and I watched the movie." "Well, you know what? That's not actually an exposure." So there's a difference between being exposed and doing an exposure. Being exposed means, I think I'm doing an exposure. I'm going to put myself in an uncomfortable situation, but I'm just going to deal with it. I'm just going to wait till I get to the end of this, and then so I can just like scurry out as fast as I can. Doing an exposure with purpose and with meaning means that I have planned to go to this movie theater. I know that I'm worried about a shooter that's going to come in, so I'm going to pay attention to the compulsions. My compulsion says sit on the edge, because if there's a shooter, you can get out. So I'm going to purposely sit in the middle, and not only sit in the middle, but I'm also worried about germs. So I'm going to make sure both my arms and hands are right on the armrest. But I'm also worried about interrupting other people while I'm watching it. So I'm going to get my big thing of popcorn and I'm going to just chew, possibly really loud. And that little bag that I have of plastic that I just like really crumbly that everyone can hear, that I'm just going to grab the piece of candy and I'm going to crumple it while I'm in there, and I'm possibly going to put somebody out. But I don't have to do this the whole movie, but I'm doing this to remind myself that I am the boss, that I came here to do an exposure. Yes, I'm sitting here and watching the movie, I can still enjoy it, but I am seeking this uncertainty on purpose. I'm allowing myself to take the threats and the fears and the meanings that I have and step closer to it. So my brain said, "You're gonna get sick if you touch the armrests. So by golly, I'm gonna put my arms on those armrests and I'm gonna touch it. I'm gonna hold it and say, yep, probably gonna get sick now. That'd be awesome. This would be so great. Hope I spread it to my family." And I might have a big smile on my face and I might rub my hands on it. I might rub it on my face, whatever the exposure is you're choosing to do. And my brain said, "What did you just do? You shouldn't have done that." And you're saying, "I'm the boss. I can do whatever I want to do. I might get sick, I might not." You're leaning into this uncertainty on purpose. You're seeking it out. By sitting in the middle, you're saying, "Cool, come on in, something happens, but I'm not going to sit on the edge. I'm perceiving a threat that isn't even a threat. So I'm going to allow myself to risk, to feel like I'm risking. When I'm eating my popcorn super loud and being really obnoxious, I'm risking that somebody's going to say something to me. And I'm going to say, you know what, maybe, maybe not. This might happen. They might get angry. They might not. We'll see. Who knows? But how can I teach my brain something new? I want to eat that darn popcorn. So I'm going to eat it. I want to eat it the way I want to eat it. Doesn't mean that I'm going to walk around being a jerk the rest of my life because I want to do what I want to do. We can be respectful, but I'm not going to let anxiety choose for me how I'm going to act. So paying attention to my anxiety and saying, hey, right now, this is pretty uncomfortable holding this. I'm maybe like a 6 out of 10 of anxiety. So I'm going to keep holding it until maybe my anxiety goes down by half. If it doesn't go down by half, that's cool too, because I also taught my brain that who cares? I'm doing it anyway. I'm willing to feel uncomfortable. It doesn't mean anything. So I'm doing this all with purpose. And I'm also paying attention to other threats or other ruminations that are in my brain while I'm watching this movie. And I'm going to take it and say, cool, maybe, maybe not. Whatever the fears are, whatever the thoughts are, you are willing to do something different with your anxiety, your OCD. When people say they've done an exposure, I try to make sure that they really have. I hear so many people say, I tried exposure and response prevention. It just doesn't work for me. But guess what? you probably didn't do it the right way, unfortunately, because realistically, I rarely see exposure and response prevention not work for somebody. And the reasons why it doesn't work is because they're not trying, they're not doing it the correct way, they're not doing it without doing all their compulsions also, or they really just aren't motivated to do it. They're okay with how things are. But we know this isn't 100%. That every single person that does this treatment is going to get better. But I know if people give it their all, there's a pretty good chance. So I say, when you're in those moments where you are going to be exposed with something, one of your topics, one of your fears, and you know you have to do it, make it purposeful. Don't just sit there and wait for the moment to end. Do it with purpose and with meaning. Plan it out. I know I got to go spend that time with my family, and I have intrusive thoughts while I'm there. When I'm with my family members, I'm going to use that towards my advantage. I'm going to purposely seek this uncertainty out, move closer to the threats, live a little bit more uncertain about it, and not figure this out anymore. Because if you don't, you're just being exposed. You're not doing an exposure. Being exposed doesn't help you. You're just getting through the moment. Doing exposure is what helps you. Doing it with meaning, with power, without doing the compulsions. That's what's going to get you through. So some people say, I was in an exposure all weekend because my baby pooped and he put it all over the walls. No, you were being exposed all weekend, but you didn't do an exposure. So what did you do about this new information that came your way? This new thing that happened in your life? Did you take it? Did you do something with it? Or did you just try to fix it and figure it out and clean it and make sure that everything was good and okay? Because one of them is following the OCD route and the other one is saying, I'm the boss. I'm going to do what I want. I'm okay feeling anxious, uncomfortable, distressed, whatever that feeling is, but I'm not fixing it anymore. Yes, it's kind of gross that happened, but I got to teach my body to not react the way it's been reacting. I got to take the power and the value away from it. So I hope this was helpful. Have you caught yourself saying that you're doing exposures when really you're just kind of being exposed? Let me know in the comments below. Have you done exposures? Have you just been exposed? Thank you so much for watching. And remember, seek uncertainty.